Oh, Judas, at it again. Always the bad guy. But you gotta say, he kind of has a point in this story, right? 300 denarii was a ton of money, and Mary was wasting it when that money could have gone to a better purpose. I hear that sometimes in church, right? Why should we have all these flowers for Easter? By the way, Easter flower donations are in your pew. Or these beautiful vestments, or our lovely, silver chalices. All that money should go to the poor, right? It's a false choice. It's that either-or thinking. Either we help the poor, or we have beautiful worship. Either Mary buys the nard, or we help the poor. That is a false choice. We know, because we do it, that you can do both. We can have beautiful worship with a beautiful choir and organist and vestments and prayers, and we can do outreach and serve the needs of the poor. It's both possible. And of course, Judas is not actually being honest. John wants to make sure we know that he was just out for himself, completely thinking about how that money, if it was in the common purse, could be stolen by him for some other purpose. Judas seems to have been motivated by greed and money, right? He sells out Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Obviously, this was a big obstacle for Judas in his spiritual life. But what about Mary? What is she doing? This nard, Jesus knows, is actually an ointment that's used to prepare bodies for burial in the Jewish tradition. The women would come and they would anoint the body with this various spices and perfumes. That's what the women were doing on that first Easter morning when they went to the tomb. They were there to prepare the body, only it wasn't there. But Mary has special insight. Mary gets it. Mary can see what no one else can see. The other disciples are clueless. Jesus has been saying, look guys, I'm going to be betrayed and I'm going to be killed and then I'm going to rise from the dead. He's been warning them of this for at least months, and they're oblivious. But Mary has been listening. She was the one, remember, that sat at the feet of Jesus. When Martha, who I got to say, I was just saying, gets a bad rap for always being the one working in the kitchen, right? There's a special spirituality to that too. But Mary was actually listening to Jesus, and she perceived what the other disciples couldn't, that Jesus was coming to the end of his earthly life. That's why she spent all her money, maybe a lot of money anyway, on this nard. But then she has another insight. And maybe you've had this experience too. I do a lot of funerals. I'm around a lot of people who are grieving, right? And it's usually the funeral that brings together the extended family. I saw that when my aunt died recently. All the family gets together. We don't get together for a happy occasion. We wait till a funeral. It always seems sad. And we always say, why didn't we have this same party when the person was alive? That's what Mary gets also. She's like, I'm saving this for his death, but I want to show him my love now while he's still here. And this might be my last chance. I know we're coming to the end. I can feel it. Jesus has been preparing us for this. I'm going to use it all now. I'm going to anoint him. And she watched him when he was washing his disciples' feet. That's how you show love, servant love. So she does that with this nard. She anoints his feet, and then she dries them with her hair. You can't imagine a more extravagant act of loving service than Mary gives. And of course, I think the other disciples are embarrassed. They're shocked. What is she doing? Judas is thinking, there goes my 300 denarii that I could have gotten. They don't get it, but Mary gets it. And I think there's a really important kernel of wisdom here for us. Sometimes we need to reorient our vision and our thinking in order to be true followers of Jesus. In our Old Testament lesson today from Isaiah, the prophet is telling the people, look, God is doing something amazing. You guys are suffering in exile. You've gone through the destruction of your homes and your land. You've been sent away to Babylon, to wherever, and you are really miserable. But I'm here to tell you that God is doing something amazing. He's preparing for you right now salvation. He's going to bring you back to your homeland. And one day he's going to send a Messiah to save you and the whole world. So hang in there. Don't remember the old times, right? Because what the people were doing is what we always do. Instead of looking forward, we look back. They were looking back. They were remembering Moses. And he's like, yes, God saved the people of Israel from Pharaoh and led them through the Red Sea into the wilderness. But you know what the people did in the wilderness? They looked back too. Those 40 years, they looked back to Egypt going, that food in Egypt was pretty tasty, and we are really sick of this manna, day in and day out, manna, 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 and we're thirsty and there's no water. Give us water. We want quails. Like, they're looking back. They're not looking forward to what God is doing. I think that is so crucial. St. Paul really brings it together for us when he talks about his own journey of faith. Someone who used to value things that no longer matter to him. He says, look at all my accomplishments. I was circumcised on the 8th day according to the law. I was a student of the law. I was a Pharisee. I studied with the best teachers. I was so good. I was a persecutor of these heretic early Christians. I was the best of what I could be. I had all the earthly accomplishments. But then I met Jesus, and now I look back on all that, and it seems to me like garbage. It no longer means what it used to mean. Reminds me of the old Oscar Wilde saying, a cynic is someone who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. The cost of everything and the value of nothing. What Paul saw in his new relationship with Christ was the value, the surpassing value of knowing and following Jesus. It changed his entire life. It made him look at his whole past in a different way. Not that he didn't appreciate it, not that he didn't draw on what he learned, not that it wasn't useful, but now he was looking forward to God's promise of new life and salvation. That's what Mary was able to do. Judas knew the cost of that nard, but Mary knew its value as a way of showing her love for Jesus, the way that her life had been changed. I believe that this is an important part of our walk with God. We so often get trapped in the past, looking backward. I was sharing at 8 o'clock that I used to run cross country as a high school student. I love running. I got back into it in my 30s. I ran a marathon. I was really doing great. Well, I tried to get back into running about 10 years ago. And when I was, in my 30s, I ran a marathon with 9-minute miles. And I was like, that's great. Well, in my 50s, I was running 13-minute miles, which is barely running, right? Jonathan's here, right? That's barely running. And I was like, I feel like I'm a failure. Why aren't I running the way I used to? I was looking backwards instead of forwards, instead of appreciating that, hey, I can run 5 miles as a 50-something. That's great. No, I was thinking about the past and comparing the present to the past instead of looking forward. And I think that's so tempting to do. So Jonathan actually helped me. He shared with me the way that he runs. I'm going to out you here, but there's a way of running, which is walking and running, that a guy found, 20 years ago, and he said, actually, my times do better if I walk and run. I don't get injured as often. Changed my life. And now here I am again with my leg injury, can't run at all. Do I look back or do I look forward? Do I see the opportunities that I have right now to live a joyful, abundant life with what I have? We all face this in aging in so many different ways. We all face it in a society that's bitterly divided over so many issues. I watched a commentator today say, we all want to look back and get revenge on one another, right? You were wrong and we were right. You were wrong and we were right. Both sides do this. Instead of looking forward and saying, how can we, with our different perspectives, with our different philosophies, with our different experiences, how can we look forward together, enlightened by the wisdom of God, and begin to imagine and work towards a future that works for everyone? I was so amazed to hear that from a political commentator. It just grabbed me, and I thought, that's it. That's the goal, to look forward. Beloved, this one thing I do, says Paul, forgetting what lies behind, I press on towards the goal of the heavenly call in Jesus Christ. May that be our journey as well. To put the past in its place, to see with the eyes of Mary what is really happening right now and where God is in that, and then to have the faith and the hope and the love to move forward, guided, strengthened, and loved by God. Amen.